first time telling a story here. Like, I didn't just grow up through my whole life and never tell a story. And now I'm like, today is the day that I will tell my very first story. So this story happened to me in high school, and it's a little embarrassing, but a little triumphant. So the first thing that you need to know about me in high school, my sophomore year, is that I was my same height, but like really thin, like wafy. But I always had like really wild hair, and I stood out a lot, but I didn't do a lot of public speaking. In fact, public speaking was not for me. I was gonna be an award-winning journalist. So sophomore year, I signed up for journalism classes, but the counselor totally screwed up, and she put me in beginning debate. And I was like, listen, I do not talk in front of people, okay? That is not something that I can do. I'm gonna write these like amazing Pulitzer Prize winning blah, 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 and you're getting in the way of my destiny. Because at 15, I knew everything that was going to happen. Spoiler alert, I've won 0 awards for being a journalist, and I'm not a journalist. So I'm in the wrong class, and I walk up to the debate coach, who obviously doesn't know what she's doing because she's the teacher and I'm 15. And I say, hey, look, I need you to sign this slip so that I can get out of this class, so that I can get on with becoming the journalist that I'm destined to be. And she looked at me and she was like, well, I'll sign your slip at the end of class. Why don't you just like hang out? And I'm like, listen, I've got stage fright. I'm not gonna speak in front of people, and I could probably only speak for like 2 or 3 seconds. She's like, okay, well, let me be the judge of that. So the exercise in beginning debate was to stand up and talk about anything you wanted to for as long as you thought you could, right? And I get up like in the middle of my class, and I tell this like story about my grandma, and it lasts for like 8 minutes. Wow. And I'm in front of all the kids in my class, and they all clap, and I sit down. I'm like, okay, well, that was weird, and it was kind of a rush. So I went up to her at the end of the class anyway, because I still knew best, and I said, hey, I need you to sign this. And she was like, well, listen, we've got a tournament coming up, and everybody in your division is going to be a beginner. You can see what it's all about, and if you don't like it, then you can quit. Okay. Another thing that you need to know about me is that my family was like comedian Chris Rockish poor in the very beginning. So going to do a tournament where I would have to dress up, like most of the kids wear business suits and they carry little suitcases, like, or briefcases or whatever, like they're really important. And so I did not have any dress clothes to go to this thing. And so the only person who had dress clothes that was like kind of close to my size was my grandmother. My grandmother is actually like 5'1". So she's not really close to my size. So she gives me this dress skirt and a pair of shoes that is a size 8. I wear a 9.5 now, and I wore a 9.5 then, right? So I'm wearing these shoes that like really hurt, and this skirt that's like really tight and like way too short for me. And I'm like waddling everywhere I go, and I do my first couple of rounds. And what you need to know about Lincoln Douglas debate is it's one-on-one. So it's like one kid against another kid. Each of you have like little prepared cases, and it's like a 45-minute thing, and there's one judge in front of you. Okay, so it's like mano a mano, and I'm like doing okay, I guess, right, the first couple of rounds. And then I go home that night, and I'm supposed to come back the next day, do my final prelim rounds, and then, you know, if you're good enough, you make it to the next stage, and then it's like face off, like for like the title or whatever, I don't know. So I go home, and I get this call that my grandmother is sick. And what you need to know about my grandmother is that she taught me everything that I know. Like, she's like the rock of the family, and everyone is terrified of her, but we love her so severely. And so when she ends up in the hospital, I end up leaving the tournament and then going to the hospital to stay with her. And spoiler alert, my grandmother is fine today. She's very old, she's very alive, but at this time I think that like this is gonna be it. and I'm like super scared. So I stay with her all night in the ER room, and finally she gets transferred to a room in the like early hours of the morning, and I leave, but I'm like so tired. So I skip out on the rest of the tournament. So I go back to school on Monday, and I'm like having like a really emotional like come down or whatever, and like kind of a blue Monday because all Mondays are blue. And this girl who's on my team comes up to me and she's like, listen, you didn't come back on Saturday, and you wasted a fee for this team, and I think that you should quit. And so I looked at her and I was like, okay, well maybe I will quit. Ran up to the teacher like our next debate class meeting or whatever and told her that I was gonna quit again, right? And she says, listen, you didn't finish the whole tournament, you can't quit, right? She's like, okay, so try it again. So the next time I try it is a totally different situation. There's no grandma emergency, and I'm actually doing quite well. But I am still wearing the shoes that don't fit and the skirt that doesn't fit. And I get all the way through my rounds on Friday, get up in the morning, go to my rounds on Saturday, and by some miracle, even though I don't like talking in front of people, I'm in elimination rounds, right? So I'm really excited, and I'm super nervous. And with each elimination round, more and more people are watching me, right? So by the time I get to the final round, okay, and we're debating to figure out who's gonna be first and second place, I am excited. I know my case, I know my position, I'm ready to go. And I do a really great job. And like there may be like 15 or 20 people watching, not a big deal. And so at the very end, they're like, we're not gonna announce who won this round. We're gonna announce it at the award ceremony in 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So I get out of that round and I take off my shoes because my feet are like hurting like nobody's business. And I sit down for a bit, and now it's award ceremony time. And let me tell you, this was the most full auditorium I had ever seen in my life. It's like everybody from every division that's at this tournament, people from all over the Metroplex, and they're like, okay, we're gonna call the people and the finalists for novice Lincoln Douglas debate. And that's me, okay. So I get all the way up these stairs, right? And I'm like, okay, this is fine. My feet are hurting like nobody's business, so I like waddle to the end of the stage next to my opponent, and I stand there, and they announce who the winner is, and I'm like frozen. I'm like paralyzed because it is me, right? Woo! And so they hand me this giant trophy, right? And I'm like smiling like it's Christmas, and I'm so excited. And I turn around to go off of this stage, and there are about 6 steps. And I get down step 1. Then I get down step 2. And then my shoe breaks and I slide all the way down the rest of the stairs in front of all of these people. And I'm like paralyzed. Also, my skirt has split in the back. And I'm just sitting there with this trophy in my hand, like paralyzed. And there was this girl at the very, very, very back of the auditorium. I don't know who she is or what she was doing at that tournament, but everyone froze, nobody clapped, and she said, fuck them, girl, you got your trophy. And then everybody clapped. So that strange girl, that amazing girl, who was not a teacher, just a girl in the back, is the voice in the back of my mind whenever I get up to do something in front of a crowd. Thank you all for letting me tell my story.